Hey, so I have another book review to share with my YouTube audience. And good news and the bad news. The bad news is it's been about 2 months since I revealed what book I will be reviewing in this video, but it's been about 2 months since I revealed that and thought that I would be back in sooner than a month to review it. The good news is this video I'll be reviewing Holler at the Moon by Tinesha Davis. But bad news is it won't I haven't read the entire book. So what I'm gonna do to make up for that is read some of the book right here, right now, and give some of my thoughts. And if I haven't said it before, I'll say it now. These are just my opinions, some of my interpretations of what I'm reading, and read along and enjoy while you're at it. So this book is Holler at the Moon by Tinesha Davis. It was published in around 2009 to 2010, somewhere in that time frame. And Holler at the Moon is a nonfiction book, urban genre, and is 215 pages, I would say. And that isn't cover to cover. It's actually some other inclusions in the back of the book, one of which is a reading group guide and activities for those who journey through the book as a group. And then there's an about the author, a brief half of a page about Tinesha Davis that includes email, contact information, and some of Tanisha's history that influences her writing. It says she's a New Englander at heart, and you kind of get that sense in reading the book about a New England town. Nothing pretty, by the way. But speaking of the storyline, there are about 3 storylines. The book is broken up into 3 storylines. Each follow a character, and the 3 characters are actually sisters. They're all girls, and they their home, their family, their foundation has been wrecked by domestic violence to the point their mom, the 3 girls' mom, actually dies after being beat by the father, who then got a life sentence as punishment for the abuse toward his wife and their mother. So the storyline follows the girls' lives after the point of losing their parents. The book opens up with the oldest of the 3 girls who relocated out of state once the parents moved on. She relocated out of state with a distant family member, whereas the other 2 girls relocated in the same city with a family member they had met before, but wasn't very familiar with. And where I am in the book is following the storyline of the middle daughter or middle sister. And I think that's about right. I'm going to read some of it. But I'll also say that in reading this book very early on, you get the sense of the theme of nurture and womanhood and all that is womanhood is talked about very little in the book, even as a side comment, a light mention. All that is womanhood is not touched on in the book, and in reading the book so far, I got the understanding of that missing very early on in the book. And what I mean by all that is womanhood is what I mean by that is, things you remember about growing up from a girl into a woman, puberty, adolescence, knowledge of self, control of self, self esteem, peer peer influence, all that is womanhood. I didn't mean to go too deep into that because I have to get some of these pages read because I haven't finished the book in the time that I gave myself or the time that I promised. And but what better way than to, if you can't read the book for yourself, what better way than to listen along and see where we're going with this. And here I am on page 90, and it's closing out one chapter. Oh, by the way, I have the paperback copy of Holler at the Moon, which is priced. I'm not sure what it's priced. This was a random book I collected at the local Goodwill. And what we have here on page 90, I'll start. I put on my winter coat and went back out the front door. I went down the steps slow and in no rush to go out into the street our parents never let us play on. Reba didn't care that I was just a little girl or that my hair hadn't been combed, my face hadn't been washed. Maybe Reba didn't care about nothing. Once out the door, the cold February wind met me with a slap to the face, knocking a tear out of my eye. The street was empty this early Tuesday morning, except for four guys bundled in black goose down jackets standing by the crack house on the other side of the lot. The lot didn't look like the great place to play, like it had when we were younger. Its trash was now covered with snow, and I wondered why no one ever bothered to pick it up. Instead, it was being used as a dumping ground, a block-made landfill that kept filling up with more and more trash. Niggas and flies, my best friend Tish would say. I wish you were there with me. Tish was a fast talker who knew what was up in the world and she wasn't afraid of anything. She was 11 like me, but she wasn't a virgin. Said she did it both ways with and without her pants on. If she were there to walk to the store with me, even the wind would have held back. Tish stops when her. Oh, that's just me. That's just me. I dug my hands deep inside my coat pocket, sat my neck low inside my collar, and leaning into the wind, I began to walk past the lot and in the direction of the guys. My pace was fast, and the snow crunched under my sneakered feet. As I was passing the guys who could have been men or boys who, like me, was supposed to be in school, I heard one say, "Who you?" I didn't answer. "Ho," I said, "who you?" He had more bravado this time man's as the other boys laughed. I walked a little faster. Please leave me alone, I thought. Crunch, 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 crunch. If if Tish had been with me, she would have known what to say. "Who you?" She would have thrown back as simple as that, but the real fire would have been the look in her eye. She would have eyed the man unafraid, looked them up and down, and then dismissed them as unimportant corner boys. Just like that. She would have sauntered by in a pace that was at her leisure. No rush, no wind, no amount of cold would have made her tuck her hands in her pockets or her tail between her legs. I wish she was with me. Or my father. If he were there, they wouldn't have said nothing except, "What's up?" They would have been stepped back, allowing us more room on the sidewalk if my father had been there. Yeah, if our parents were there, I wouldn't have even been on that broke up sidewalk. I would have been at school. Instead, DJ and I were at our aunt's house to get situated and grieve. So I decided to take up the grieving at the moment. Walking down Public Avenue, my tears fell, and I didn't stop them. I was safe there. DJ was in the house with Reba, and Neek wasn't around to call me a baby. I missed the family I knew. I didn't know the strangers on this street. So if they saw me cry, the worst they could do was poke fun at me and call me names my parents would never call me. I cried because our parents were gone. Nick was gone, and I was afraid to care for DJ by myself. I had to go on and be strong, but walking down Public Avenue alone, I broke down crying out there. The crunching snow beneath my feet was loud enough to block out my sniffles. And that actually ended the chapter two. And so what I read there was the middle sister. Well, the middle sister feeling very alone at this time. This perspective is actually just after the scene with the mom being killed. And they were now at Reba's house, who she named. She also named her older sister Neek and her younger sister DJ, who she says she's left to care for. Um, she's remembering her father, and she's remembering one of her peers who obviously is very influential in your growing up and development. And at that time, she probably clung, well, who wouldn't cling to appear, and at that age, which is 11. And uh, another idea I have is that um, this sister is going through a lot. She's the middle child of three girls. She doesn't have that firstborn relationship with her mother, nor does she have the baby of the bunch relationship with her father. So she's going through a lot, especially mentally, um, because deep down inside, it's probably best for her development that she isn't growing up with both sisters during this trying time. And but it's probably also hard because she was the baby, at least to someone who would be her older sister who's not around. In the next page, opening chapter 3, we see a letter that you could imagine uh, a younger sister would write an older sister um, during that time, and trying to keep in some contact, which in following the first storyline, it there's no hint to a continued relationship between those two sisters, the oldest and the middle sister. And at this point, we've dealt with so many um, women's issues that you get just by following the storylines of black women, sisters, traumatized, abused, so many things. The storyline of following these storylines. And this is what Tinesha Davis has written. I definitely want to give her that credit. This book was a much needed relief, um, with it being nonfiction but relatable. And I don't know why I haven't been reading it regularly. Um, you know, I think I'm gonna wrap up what I'm reading there. Or maybe from what I've already read, I can find a standout scene to share. Okay, I can read the opening of chapter 5, where the storyline follows the older sister, Neek. And what you read here is a lot of what Neek thinks about herself. She's grown up, gotten a professional job, and in this section of the storyline, you can hear what Neek thinks of herself in the position she's in life. And I remember asking myself if her perspective on herself is from a developed perspective or a developed point of view, considering the trauma she has faced with the situation with her mom and dad. Okay, so with no further ado, some of chapter 5 of Holler at the Moon, because I'm late on my book review, so I have to read some of the passages for your understanding and enjoyment. Chapter 5. I'm a computer help desk supervisor for Envisage Inc., which is a one stop technological shop for small businesses in the Tidewater area. We provide around the clock help desk support to our clients. My shift's the day shift. I supervise from 8 to 5. When I didn't have paperwork or follow ups to do, I walked the floor, usually in a dress or skirt and blouse with high heeled pumps that killed my feet. I'd walk the floor simply because it made me accessible, readily available to answer questions or jump on the phones if the call volume got too heavy. A Tuesday, everything was going well. I had 8 people, including myself, working the day shift, and everyone was in their proper place doing their proper thing, answering phone calls. I made an extra effort to stroll the floor slow, hands interlocked behind my back. For the most part, I kept a smile on my face. This wasn't my default expression, but I had a role to play. The narcissism. Okay. I was a responsible supervisor who cared. One time, when cops came to my building looking for Scotty, I didn't get all intimidated and allowed them free reign of the place. Over the intercom, I told them that I couldn't allow them inside. We were a small but public company with a public image to protect. I couldn't control what my staff did on their off time, but what I could do was talk to Scotty and give him the chance to walk out with some privacy and dignity. And if that didn't work, then hey, those cops really thought they were going to bust up in my building on some Rambo stuff, talking about this the police. We're here for the arrest of Scott Walters. Open up. I had to think real quick. I didn't want that drama in my workspace, and all I could see was the defaming headlines tied to my company's reputation and my name peppered throughout the article. What the hell did Scotty do? Okay, and I'm gonna wrap that up there and reflect on a lot of the points that I've made in this video, in with it being a review so far. A lot of this review was me interpreting what I've read so far, giving myself a chance to see if I want to finish reading the book, if I've enjoyed it enough. And I would say that I have, and I intend to finish reading the book, see what happens with that third sister, and really hope for the best. Continue to enjoy Tanisha's style of writing, and go from there. And I actually just got a text message because I'm live streaming. I actually just got a text message that Tinesha Davis's book Holler at the Moon is fiction and not nonfiction. That's my mistake. I don't know if I saw something about an on-screen adaptation of the book just in my internet research, or how I mistook it to be nonfiction when it's fiction. And again, that's Holler at the Moon, published around 2010 by Tanisha Davis. And this has been the review so far. Like, comment, what's your thoughts on the book? And if you were a woman who's read this book, what lesson would you say you was revealed to you in reading Holler at the Moon? Because there have been some for me myself, so I imagine that other women have experienced some type of revelation about womanhood in reading Holler at the Moon. That's the influence of fiction, even. So there you go. Um, Check out some of my other videos you'll find on my YouTube channel, some more book reviews and other things. And I don't have the next book I'll be reviewing selected, but something will come soon. And until next time, be well.